In this presentation, I'm going to talk about qualitative collection methods. Qualitative collection methods is when you collect data and it isn't numerical. So instead it's kind of participants' thoughts and their views and feelings on stuff. So it's quite narrative. It consists of words, not figures. And for this reason, it's harder to analyse than quantitative collection methods. There are three different types of qualitative collection methods. These are interviews, questionnaires, and observation. The first two, interviews and questionnaires, are self-report. And what we mean by this is when participants provide information knowingly about what they think, what they believe, or what they do. And it systematically gathers information from a large amount of participants. So we can give this to them via post, on the phone, or email, and it can be presented as stats or in a table, if you like. That's especially for questionnaire. So a lot of people can do this at one time, and you can also use interviews as well, but if it's done in a fewer amount of numbers. First, we're going to look at interviews. There are four types of interview. There's unstructured, structured, semi-structured, and a focus group. Unstructured interviews are when the interviewer starts with a question, and then from this a conversation kind of develops, so it can lead into different tangents. The direction of the conversation can kind of change, and a conversation isn't determined before the interviewer starts, so nothing's planned beforehand. The questions that are asked during, they come from what the participants say or what the interviewer kind of thinks during the interview. And during the interview, it's mainly open questions. So an example of an open question could be, why do you smoke? Instead of how many cigarettes do you smoke per day, because that would be a closed question. So with open questions, you can really kind of expand on the question. There's no boundaries for the participant. So this is an advantage. But on the other hand, it's very hard to analyse, so that would be a disadvantage. Structured interviews are when the interviewer goes into the interview with a set of questions and they know exactly what they're going to say. Advantages of this is you know what you're going to ask because you have a list in front of you, so you won't get confused during. You don't need a lot of experience or skill about interviewing because you're literally reading a set of questions. You don't have to kind of think about it. But a disadvantage on the other hand, a big one could be that the researcher can't follow up on a question. So if they ask a question, they can't get the participant to expand on that. They kind of just have to stick to their script. And another disadvantage could be it might lack honesty from the participant a bit, which could affect the results, the reliability, etc. The next one, semi-unstructured. This is where interviewers go, they kind of get the best of the both worlds of unstructured and structured. So they go into the interview with some structure, so they know a few questions or topics that they're going to ask, but there's some flexibility to expand on answers, so what we were just talking about. And this is one of the advantages, so you can get a lot more kind of information. But on the other hand, you can go way off topic and it wouldn't be relevant, so it's kind of wasting a bit of time. And the last one, which is a focus group. This is when there is one interviewer and they're interviewing a group of people. So the interviewer asks a question, and within the group, people kind of discuss their thoughts and opinions. And there are advantages of this, such as you get a variety of views from the different people that give their opinion. So you get a lot more answers, a lot more opinions, etc. And it's easier to analyse if you ask the same questions within the group as well. But on the other hand, it's easy for people to really kind of go along with what other people are saying. So they might there might be one person very dominant, answering all the questions, and the other people might kind of nod their heads and agree with them, but it's not actually what they think. And that's it for interviews. The next is questionnaire. So a questionnaire, it consists of a set of questions and other prompts for the purpose of gathering information. So it's used to you can use it to gather a lot of information at one time from a lot of different people, and the researcher doesn't actually need to be present either. So the participants can receive the questionnaire. It could be face to face. The researcher might be there. They can get it in post, email, text, on the phone, etc. And it can be done in their own time. So as we said before, this is a self-report. As I explained earlier. So an example of when a questionnaire could be used, if we put it in a gymnastic context, it could be when a new member joins to the club. A questionnaire might be given out to find out any health or injury issues or anything like that, and just personal details. So this would be a questionnaire. And again, they could take this home and do it in their own time, which would be self-report, or they could do it at the club as well. Advantages of using a questionnaire is it's very easily to analyse, because you have the set of questions from a range of people. It's very easy to analyse, and you get what you're looking for. You don't go off topic like some of the others, and it's just very easily done and cheap to do. But on the other hand, it can lack validity a bit. So if the participant can't really be bothered to do it and they don't give a proper answer, then this would lack that, and likewise it would lack honesty as well. And if in some questionnaires you might have to write a bit, and it might be rushed, so it might not be done very well, not very reliable, and not everyone will really want to do it either. That's it for questionnaire. And the last one is observation. So this is a way of gathering data by watching behaviour, events, or even just noting physical characteristics in their natural environment. So there's two kind of different ways observation can be done. There's one that's a participant observation. This is where the researcher joins in the activity. They literally become part of the group and get more in-depth insight to their lifestyle. You can either do this type when the participants know that you're doing the research. So this is called over observation. This basically means that the participants they might not act natural because they know the research there, so they might act a bit different, and this would be a disadvantage of this, and it would make the results a bit unreliable. Or you can do covert observation, and this basically means that they don't know that you're observing. So this will mean that the results are more reliable because participants literally have no idea that you're there, so they won't act any different. They'll act how they do it week in, week out. But this can be seen as a bit unethical. So usually the over observation is used, and that's an advantage and disadvantage of that as well. So for example, if a researcher joined in a gymnastics group for a week, they could see how hard athletes are pushed, how hard they work, and the relation with their coach. So by being in the group, they'll really get a good in-depth insight into that. And the other type is non-participant. This is when the researcher is observing from sidelines, from the outside. They literally aren't a member of the group, so they're just watching basically. They don't join in. And what they do is they just record what they see from the outside, from the sidelines. And again, you can either use over observation or covert observation. So if they know or they don't know, the same applies. An example of using this you could be a researcher watching on gymnastic sessions, training sessions for 3 weeks to see how many injuries occur and how the coaches and athletes deal with them. So do they carry on, they push them still, do they stop, do they treat them, just to see, because you can literally see with your eyes and note and record it all down. Some advantages of using observation. It allows you to kind of directly see what the participants are doing instead of what their actual opinion is if you're watching them, and you can collect the data while watching them. That's another advantage as well. And also it doesn't rely on people's willingness to or ability to provide the information. So with like questionnaires, they have to have the willingness to kind of fill it all out. With observation, they're just doing what they do anyway, and information is gathered by observing, so that's much more easier. But on the other hand, the observer could be a little bit biased, so they might think that they see something and it's not actually correct, etc. Sorry. And as I said before, with the overt and convert, if people know that they're being observed, then they might act a little bit differently. So again, the reliability of the results could be affected, because if they know they're being watched, they might try a little harder, they might act a bit different, they won't be themselves, etc. So that could be a disadvantage.